In 2017, an experienced detective was found dead on a remote farm in Florida. Despite years of working as a police officer and private investigator, she couldn't see the danger that lurked right beside her. The case had a huge impact on the country, mainly because all the suspects were people deeply close to her. Her ex-husband, new girlfriend, co-workers, and even some friends. For the police, everyone had at least a motive to commit such an atrocity. However, the case is even more shocking, because it shows what people are capable of doing for money. Only one of these suited suspects carried out the crime, and the police did a practically exemplary job in managing to identify the person responsible. Today's case will talk about the mysterious murder of Taylor Wright. Taylor Wright was a 33-year-old woman living in North Carolina. She was going through a divorce and raising her young son. Although information about her childhood is somewhat a mystery, it is known that at the age of 13 she was adopted, and as an adult she was a friendly woman who exuded friendliness and treated everyone with great affection. Her physical strength and self-confidence led her, around 23 years old, to apply to join the police force. It was with this wit, and also with her beauty, that she won over Jeff Wright, a naval officer. Despite being very happy with her profession, a car accident caused her some physical consequences that, although they did not prevent her from subsequently leading a relatively normal life, but with some precautions, prevented her from continuing to perform her duties as a police officer. Due to this, she was dismissed from the force. However, she had a life and accident insurance that ended up paying her a $100,000 policy after the accident. She and Jeff got married, started a family, and opened a joint bank account to manage their savings. Taylor, ever resourceful, was now working as a private investigator and doing very well. She was good at what she did. She knew how to shoot, how to handle a physical fight, despite some limitations, and she had a great nose for following clues and unraveling mysteries. However, she didn't see the betrayal that was coming. The marriage worked well for almost 10 years, but some factors began to bring changes to the couple's lives. In 2010, she'd given birth to her son, Drake Wright, and as a result, she had to step away from private investigations. At the same time, her husband started spending more days away from home, and Taylor, who until then was used to an independent life, found herself lonely, trapped in the unilateral responsibility of motherhood and financial dependence on him. Loneliness, increasingly common, coupled with marital dissatisfaction, were the main feelings that accompanied her daily. The move could have marked a fresh start for the family, but instead, cracks in their relationship grew deeper. Small frustrations turned into frequent arguments, and by 2015, divorce was on the table. Although she had considered separating before, it was Jeff who ultimately made the decision on their wedding anniversary. The timing hit her hard. At first, the split was amicable, and decided that custody of Drake would be fully shared, at least until she could get back on her feet financially. Remember, they were now in Florida, and Taylor, despite having experience as an investigator, was still looking for job opportunities. And now, separated, in the prime of her life, still 30 years old, she allowed herself to have new experiences. She began dating again, men and women, and started going out more often to bars and clubs. The situation as a whole worsened as time went by, and she had not yet managed to recover financially. In this way, she was forced to leave her son with her husband for longer than she would have liked. That feeling of loneliness, perhaps now added to a feeling of failure and that everything was falling apart, hit her hard, causing her to become a slightly more aggressive woman. Mainly because Jeff, concerned about her spending and lifestyle, especially her nights out and drinking, took a harsh step. he limited her access to the joint account they still shared. She wanted to at least recover the remaining money from her insurance and was being blocked. In order to deal with the sharing through legal means, Jeff filed a court case to divide their assets and seek full custody of their son. Furthermore, he wanted full custody of him. Taylor didn't have a steady job. Consequently, she didn't have financial stability. She was already leaving Drake in the care of her ex-husband, and all of this worked in his favour as he had a job as a naval officer and a good salary. Thus, the judge granted temporary custody to the father and also stipulated a symbolic amount for Taylor to pay alimony, perhaps as an incentive for her to get back on track. Whatever remained of their friendly co-parenting was gone. The court battle turned them into enemies. They argued a lot whenever they met, and in one of these heated arguments, she lashed out and attacked him while he was filming everything. He reported her to the police, taking the video as evidence, and she was arrested for a short time. Regretful, mainly due to what his son could think of the issue, he dropped the complaint days later. All she needed was a chance to rebuild. But life kept knocking her down, and every door that closed pushed her closer to despair. Based on the vast majority of cases already presented here on the channel, this seems to be the perfect profile of someone who, through some lapse in life, could end up committing a crime. But in this case, we have the opposite situation. Little did Taylor know that in a few months, she would be the victim of a terrible crime. In 2016, Taylor finally got a job at a private investigator's office, a workplace staffed mostly by detectives and former police officers. For the first time in a while, things seemed to be looking up. It was that same year that she met who would become her future girlfriend, Cassandra Waller. They truly cared for one another, but they faced some difficulties, mainly because Taylor wanted an open relationship and had affairs with other women, and on one of those outings she even tried drugs, which made Cassandra very angry. One evening during a work outing, she attended dinner with her colleagues. One of her colleagues, Zach MacArthur, brought his wife, Ashley MacArthur. Ashley had recently left her position as a forensic expert specializing in crime scenes to take over the family business as manager of the Pensacola Automatic Amusement Store, a company responsible for selling, repairing, and transporting various entertainment items to pubs, bars, and restaurants. Equipment such as jukebox, pool tables, and arcade machines were their specialties. She was also a mother, with a young daughter named Savannah, and at 39, Ashley seemed polished, professional, and down to earth. She was instantly moved by Taylor's story, particularly her struggle to gain custody of her son. From that point forward, she inserted herself increasingly into Taylor's life. Lunches, shopping trips, coffee meetups. She was always available, always offering help. That same year, Taylor and Cassandra decided to live together. Ashley provided a truck from her own company to help with the move, and it was on that day that she and Cassandra met for the first time. But Ashley was hiding a secret. She was having an extramarital affair with Brandon Beatty, the owner of one of the bars who was a client of her company. Their meetings were always secret. Not even her husband, not her new friend suspected a thing. By 2017, things between Taylor and Jeff had reached a boiling point, with no agreement expected, further increasing the tension between them. Now she was already employed and stable, not only wanted custody of her son, but also all her money back. The situation worsened when the judge ordered that neither of them carry out any banking transactions, requesting a total judicial freeze on the joint account until they resolved themselves. But Taylor, mistakenly, had already acted. On July 10th, weeks before this hearing, and without telling anyone, she unduly transferred exactly $100,000 from her joint account to a personal account. And when I'm referring unduly, it's because even though the money was her insurance policy, at the time she decided to marry Jeff and agreed to combine their finances into a single account, the division of the couple's assets should have been done by mutual agreement or through a court decision. Legally, what she did was wrong, unfortunately. She knew there would be consequences, so in an attempt to protect that money and imagining that she could have the amount blocked from her account, she made some withdrawals, issued some checks made payable to herself, and spread these checks among her friends for safekeeping. One of those friends was Ashley, to whom she handed a check for $34,000. She knew that Ashley had a safe deposit box at the bank and asked her to put this check there as well as some personal jewelry. It wasn't until early September that Jeff discovered Taylor's unauthorized withdrawal from their joint account. Outraged, he brought the information straight to the judge. The judge was furious. He, in turn, contacted her lawyers with a warrant for her arrest and payment of a fine if she did not repay the amount before the new hearing, which was scheduled for the 12th of that same month. Desperate, she collected all the checks, but she couldn't get the one that Ashley had. She sent several messages to her friend, asking the two of them to go to the bank urgently to retrieve the check and the jewelry from the safe. But Ashley took a long time to respond, rambled on, was evasive, invented excuses and reasons why she couldn't go to the bank. Taylor's tone shifted from polite to panicked. She wasn't just asking, she was practically begging to get her own money back. On September 7th, she sent a message to Ashley saying she really needed her to go to the bank to withdraw her money. She was under court order, and they would arrest her if she didn't return the money before the hearing. That night, Taylor and Cassandra were having dinner at a restaurant called Twin Peaks, and Ashley was supposed to meet them there. Upon arrival, the three spoke in an uncomfortable tone, and she, once again, asked her friend to stop making it difficult to access the check. Ashley apologized, claiming her life was just overwhelming at the moment, but promised that they'd go to the bank first thing the next morning. On September 8th, 2017, a Friday at 10 a.m., Ashley arrived at their house to pick her up. Cassandra couldn't come along because she needed to work, but she told her girlfriend she would keep in touch via text. At 10:40 a.m., she messaged to check in, and at 11:20 a.m., Taylor responded saying yes. Hours later, at 3:30 p.m. in the afternoon, Cassandra had sent more messages, but this time she didn't respond. So she called, but no one answered. Worried, she called Ashley.
I asked her where they were, and I hadn't heard from Taylor.
What did she tell you?
She told me that Taylor was emotional, that she was out riding a horse on on Ashley's family farm in Milton, and that they'd be home shortly. I told her to have Taylor call me when she got off the horse.
You hear from Taylor after your conversation with Ashley MacArthur?
Up until, the text in the evening?
No, I just mean at that point.
No.
After that call, Cassandra waited for her girlfriend to return, but didn't get any response. She continued trying to contact her after 5 p.m., but Taylor didn't respond to her messages or answer her phone calls. Between 6:30 and 7 p.m., she decided to call Ashley again.
Do you remember if you ended up speaking to her later that evening?
I did.
Okay. And what did she tell you at that point?
She just, again, repeated that Taylor was emotional that day. She was stressed out with the things going on with her ex-husband, the divorce. She had told me that she had some of Taylor's jewelry that was left in her car, and she didn't want to hold on to it, so she brought it to my house. She had told me that that she repeated that how Taylor left in an Uber from her house.
Did Ashley say approximately what time Taylor left in an Uber?
Sometime between 5 and 5:30 in the evening.
It wasn't until nearly 8 p.m. that Taylor finally replied to Cassandra with the following message. "I'll call you later. I'm not angry with you and I should have called, but I just needed to think. I am trying to get my life organized and on track." Cassandra was very upset with her girlfriend's attitude, but also insecure and haunted by doubts, mainly because of the fact that Taylor had cheated on her and started experimenting with drugs. Close to midnight, Cassandra got a new message, this time from Ashley. She sent a screenshot of a text exchange between her and Taylor, where at 8:39 p.m. she had sent 2 messages to her friend. Her response arrived just hours later at 11:54 p.m. "Where are you? Did you get home? I'm okay. I just need some time to think. The move in court is very stressful. I need a few days to myself. Everything is okay. I am not doing anything bad." What should have comforted Cassandra ended up having the opposite effect. She spent the night of the 8th, the entire day of the 9th, and part of the 10th in agony, sending dozens of messages that received no answers. She was going through a dilemma. On the one hand, she imagined that her girlfriend may be off doing something reckless, but on the other, feeling that something could have happened. So on the 10th, after almost 48 hours without seeing her girlfriend, Cassandra called the police and reported she was missing. Apparently, she received some instructions and was asked to wait. September 12th arrived, the day of the hearing. The money was not in the couple's account and Taylor simply did not appear in court. At that point, Cassandra knew something was terribly wrong. She went to the police station in person and filed a formal missing person report. Nancy, Taylor's mother, would later give an interview where she said some very moving things.
She has a little boy. His name's Drake. He's with his dad. But she was texting him every day. They would text back and forth. She hasn't communicated with anyone. We're all just puzzled, just befuddled on what has happened to her.
And she's never done this before?
No. She's never done anything like this before. My gut tells me that this is not normal behavior, that she wouldn't do this and something bad has happened to her.
At the police station, Cassandra gave her first statement. The officer responsible for interrogating her was Jeff Brown.
The last day that y'all were together, can you kind of walk me through that day?
Woke up, she made me breakfast. She made me like eggs and bacon and stuff, and she was in no hurry for anything. You know, just like a normal morning. I said, we'll go to the grocery store. I'll pick up some stuff. We'll have wings tonight. And that was that. She was like, okay, well, Ash is coming over. We're going to go to Ash's bank, and we're going to pick up my money and stuff out of the safety deposit box. So as I was getting in my car, Ash had pulled up, and I was like, all right, you know, we hugged, we kissed, said, love you. I went my way.
Any other plans, errands that had to run?
No. But when Taylor wouldn't text me back, I texted Ash, and I was like, Ash, like, where are you guys at? Because I thought that they were just going to run to the bank. That's the only thing I knew of that day. Finally, Ash called me, and Ash was like, hey, we're up at my mom's house, which is up in Milton. They own a farm. She was like, you know, Taylor's broke down and cried twice today. I'm like, what is going on?
Do you think Ashley would have the capability or the means to harm Taylor?
I don't know that well. I can't answer that. I don't know.
Entirely second, okay?
With her permission, the police started looking at her phone. They left Cassandra in the room alone while they analysed the device in another. Until then, after some time, tired of waiting, she got up and called out to the officers again.
Hey, we'll say something else. So I've been thinking about the father and sitting in here and I was...
What you got?
So, Taylor, it seemed like she was getting paranoid. She was talking about how she felt like something just wasn't right with Ashley. She wasn't sure if Ash had her money or not. Because Taylor had been trying to get the money out of Ash's safety deposit box, Taylor said, for like 4 or 5 days. And I was like, Taylor, you know, she's probably been really busy. And she goes, no, Cass, she goes, like, I'm telling you, something just doesn't feel right with me. I don't want to think this, but, like, I want to give you guys, like, whatever you guys need. I can be so wrong.
No, I'd rather you be wrong and have a feeling or know something to
tell us. I don't want Ash to be mad at me, though, because I, like, maybe accuse her or something.
Ash doesn't even know anything.
Ashley, in turn, was called in for questioning.
The story that I get is that Jeff was the aggressive one, and that he was the one that would be, you know, like, volatile and violent with her. I know she was trying to hide money from the Jeff situation. The way that she put everything to me was like she was just trying to get her life together, to get her kid, to get back on her feet, and that Jeff had done so much, you know, to her to take away all of the money that she had and everything else. She didn't want her name or anything to be on anything that Jeff could find.
Sure.
So I was like, we'll just keep it and give it to you or whatever. I mean, this is a pain in the ass for me,
sure,
you know?
Sure, all of us.
Well, I mean, it really is, because like now I'm stuck with all of her stuff in my office, just trying to help her. And of course the story that I get is a very sob story about how Jeff's taken all this money and now she's just, you know, trying to hide it and move it and do all kind of just shady stuff with it. I mean, who does that? She was fine. She just said that she wanted to go have a beer and that she was going to get an Uber to take her to go have a beer.
She explained to the police the same thing she'd already told Cassandra. They went to the bank. She retrieved her check from the safe deposit box. After that, they went to the farm. Taylor rode a horse to unwind. Then she simply took an Uber and left, saying she was heading to a bar to have a drink to relax. When asked about the location of the property, she began to hesitate, claiming that she did not know the exact address, only that it was in Milton and that it belonged to her aunt. The property was really difficult to access, the kind of place that is not on a common street or neighborhood. They are remote places, identified by the kilometer markers rather than house numbers, so it really made it a little difficult. But nothing stopped her from saying, "If you need me, I'll take you there." All Ashley said was, "I'll get the address and I'll send it to you. I'm not sure of the exact location," and so on. And because the police didn't have any evidence that could at least keep her in pre-trial detention, she was dismissed. It's not known how, but investigators became aware of the existence of Brandon Beatty, Ashley's lover, and he was called in for questioning.
How well do you trust Ashley?
I don't trust her at all.
You don't trust her with your freedom?
No, hell no. I catch her in too many lies.
Your feelings on all this missing person and her talking to you, what's your thoughts?
There's more to the story. I don't know. She's point blank said they are not going to find her. She took that money and left.
What do you think about that?
Don't make no sense. The girl ain't gonna leave her kid. The girl spends money on everybody around me. Really.
Yeah?
Everybody. It's not uncommon for her to spend money on everybody.
With a search warrant for Cassandra's house, which was easy to obtain since Taylor lived there, the police found a suitcase with documents, including her passport and a $19,000 check made out to herself, which made it seem strange that a hypothesis of escape on her part had actually happened. During this period, they received several calls from Ashley, asking for updates on the case and giving new tips to help the investigation.
Hey, Detective Taylor Wright. Ashley, how are you?
Well, how are you?
I was just calling to see if there was any update or anything going on. I hate to bother you, but I checked.
During the investigation, the police unraveled 7 major discoveries. 1. Contacting Uber, they learned that Taylor hadn't used her account in months. 2. Through cell tower pings, it was found that on the day of the disappearance, September 8th, Taylor and Ashley went to a rural area, but contrary to what Ashley claimed, the farm was not in Milton, but on Britt Road, a location approximately 40 kilometers away. Between 1:40 and 2:40 p.m., only Ashley's cell phone appears on the map, leaving and then returning to the same location. In other words, a departure and return that she never informed the police about. 3. Around 7 p.m., both phones pinged near Ashley's home. Taylor's device stayed there until it was completely turned off around midnight. In fact, this time window reflects the same times when she and Ashley supposedly exchanged their last messages. Those messages from that screenshot that Ashley sent to Cassandra. In other words, both cell phones were in the same location. 4. By scanning Ashley's past, using her maiden name, they found a farm registered in her name, which was actually an inheritance in the same rural area where they identified the pins on both of their cell phones. 5. With the breach of bank secrecy, they discovered that Ashley never had a safe deposit at the bank. 6. Ashley's credit card statement identified purchases at construction material stores on the day Taylor disappeared, at the exact time that the police had already identified, that she had left and returned from that area. And when contacting the store, they discovered that Ashley bought fertilized soil and cement. 7. And more alarmingly, investigators uncovered shocking financial evidence in Ashley's bank records. Her account had been in the negative since early July. However, on August 16th, her balance suddenly turned positive when $34,000 was deposited through a check from Taylor. The endorsement signature was forged. On the same day of the deposit, a withdrawal of $20 was made, and from the following day, the 17th, several transfers were made to different accounts, stopping when the balance reached approximately $600. Just over a month later, on October 19th, with the new evidence in hand, Ashley was called in for a second interrogation. She talked a lot, however, she had no real answers. She stated that the two went to her farm to get a box of tools, but when asked why she didn't tell the police about this before, she said it was because Taylor had asked her not to tell anyone. When confronted about why she claimed the check was delivered to her on September 8th, when in fact it had been deposited in her account since August 16th, she said nothing.
We've turned up some things that we don't really know what to think at this point.
Okay.
We found some bank records that drew some questions. Can you tell me anything about you and Taylor and any sort of involvement with any businesses?
What happened to this money after you deposited it?
A lot of it I used because it was payment for the money that I had been given to her.
When we started plotting all the phone calls that you and Taylor were making that day, there were some discrepancies in what you had told us. We know that you didn't go to Milton when you said you went to Milton.
I don't think I was Milton.
Not when you said you went, though.
Oh, well, I don't know it.
You went that evening. What were y'all doing out there at this farm? I know y'all were there.
We picked up some stuff that Taylor had there that,
What was
that
it?
she had stored. Some kind of lockbox that she had.
Why would you not tell us that originally?
Because she asked me not to tell anyone ever.
It's not going to fly.
I gotcha.
Okay. Where is Taylor at?
I have no
You need to tell us where she's at.
I don't know where she is. I don't have a clue.
Where is she at?
I don't know where she
Where's
is.
her body at?
I don't know where she is.
She's dead, though. You
I
know
don't
that?
believe that.
So you're the only one that was with her on this day at this farm that you did not disclose to us.
I didn't do anything to
I'll
her.
tell you this, if she's at that farm, we're going to find her because we're executing a search warrant out there right now.
With everything pointing to foul play, police brought in sniffer dogs and began searching the dense wooded area near Ashley's inherited farm. They found Taylor Wright's body, buried face down beneath a layer of fertilized earth mixed with cement. The body was already decomposed, only had a skeleton, and a bullet hole was identified in the back of the skull. Thus, on that same October 19th, 2017, Ashley was arrested as the main suspect in the murder. Ashley went on trial on August 30th, 2019. The prosecution's hypothesis, which was based on the police's own version, was precisely that she premeditated the crime because she had already spent all of Taylor's money and was unable to return it. During Ashley MacArthur's trial, many witnesses took the stand, but 2 individuals brought forward new and chilling information. According to them, Ashley had been buying cocaine and giving it to Taylor of them. She had put an excessive amount in her friend's beer, but she had spat it out because the drink tasted too sour, and she ended up asking for another. Investigators now believe this was Ashley's first attempt to kill Taylor, staging it to look like an overdose. With this attempt ruled out, Ashley then decided to shoot from behind, as she could perhaps defend herself if she tried a frontal approach. For the prosecution, Ashley cleaned the place where the crime took place and disposed of the weapon. In fact, the gun was never found either. Then, using Taylor's cell phone, she contacted Cassandra, Jeff, and her son Drake via text messages, in addition to sending messages to herself and then sending screenshots to Cassandra. On the day the verdict was read, the judge issued strict instructions: no noise, no reaction, and anyone who felt they might cry out, cheer, or break down emotionally was told to leave before the verdict was read, because once it began, the room had to remain completely silent. But why am I highlighting this? Because one of the most moving parts of this day was seeing Cassandra behind Ashley, making a huge effort to hold back her tears and not interrupt the jury's statement. The strong emotion she felt was visible at the same time that she could not stop breathing intensely.
Somebody out there is going to be unhappy. I don't know what the verdict is. But if there are people here, I know there are some family members and friends for Ms. MacArthur, and presume that there are family members and friends for Taylor Wright. And I don't know, as I said, we're going to know in 5 minutes or less what the verdict is. But let's talk about your reactions. You may not be happy, but it's not a complete surprise whatever the verdict is. If there is anyone who is going to audibly react, then you need to go ahead and quietly step out now. You need to assume that it's the verdict you do not want. And if you think you would react, you need to step out now. I do not want this jury, who has been, as far as I can tell, a tremendous jury as far as attention and their willingness to serve and being on time, to feel any pressure from reactions from people in the crowd. Not to mention, I have the power of contempt over you. And that's not my goal today, is to hold people in contempt. But I do not want you reacting. Once you hear the verdict, if you decide you might be getting emotional, then you can quietly get up and quietly leave. Don't slam any doors. Don't outburst right outside the door. Does everybody understand the rules? This is very important. Okay. Having said that, let's bring the jury in.
In the Circuit Court in Forest, Gambia County, Florida, State of Florida versus Ashley Britt MacArthur, case number 1717CF005844A. Verdict as to the charge in count 1, we the jury find the defendant Ashley MacArthur guilty of first-degree premeditated murder with a firearm as charged in the indictment.
Okay. Ms. MacArthur, I want to make sure that I ask you personally, do you want to say anything to the court? Okay. All right. Then, Ashley MacArthur, having been found guilty beyond a reasonable doubt by a jury of your peers of first-degree premeditated murder with a firearm, I am going to adjudicate you guilty. I'm going to sentence you to life with a mandatory minimum 25 years state prison for the firearm. That will be with credit for
327 days.
327 days. That will run concurrent with any other sentence that you are serving. I assume it's $518 fines and costs. Are there any other fines and costs? And anything else the state other than the 30 days? All right, and you have 30 days. The 518 will be reduced to a lien. And you have 30 days to appeal the judgment and sentence of the court. If you cannot afford to hire an attorney, one will be appointed for you. I wish you good luck.
The Taylor Wright case shocked the country, mainly because even though she was an experienced professional in the criminal field, she could not foresee the risk she was taking, nor the danger posed by her friend, who was capable of taking her life for just $34,000.